Good afternoon. I'm Contact 5 investigative reporter Dave Bowman. We continue our coverage of the fuel frustration, the high gas prices, and what it is doing to our pocketbooks and our economy. We have been covering this intensely, and today we are very lucky to have a guest who is a specialist in international business, international relations. It is John Quelch. He is the dean of the Miami Herbert Business School at the University of Miami, and he has also taught business overseas as well. Mr. Quelch, first of all, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be with you, Dave.
And you were quoted in the Miami Herald today as saying gas prices could get as high as $6 a gallon. Are we really looking at that potentially in South Florida?
Well, I think we've seen some mitigation of that risk in the last 2 days. The reason is that the U.S. government has been in negotiation, which is well known publicly, with Saudi Arabia and with United Arab Emirates to further boost supply and production of petroleum. A couple of weeks ago, OPEC essentially said they were not going to increase production in the face of the Ukraine crisis, probably wanting to take a windfall profit. But diplomatic pressure has perhaps improved the likelihood of that being rescinded, and OPEC production may well increase. In addition, we, of course, have the strategic petroleum reserves in the United States that represent approximately 30 days of supply. We have the option at higher price points of reactivating oil wells and oil fields that are not necessarily profitable at $3 a gallon, but can be profitable at $4 or $5 a gallon at the pump. So for all of these reasons, Dave, we have seen an amelioration and an improvement in the overall petroleum price. It has stabilized the per barrel price down around about $110 now, 15% off the high of 10 days or so ago. So I think that there is some glimmer of hope here for stabilization.
Will we ever see gas prices in the kind of 275 to 325 range that I think people right now would say normal? I mean, that's normal is hard to define here.
Right.
But, will we be seeing prices go down to something like that?
It's perfect. It's perfectly possible. Listen, the price on average nationally today is $4.31. If we look back a year ago, it was $2.82. It's, in other words, 50% higher today than it was a year ago. But it only recently passed its 15-year high just a few days ago. And so in that 15-year period, there were 15 years of prices that were below where we are now. And so oil prices, gas prices are volatile. They do depend somewhat on global consumption. When the economies of the world are strong, of course, there's more demand. But they depend heavily on what the attitudes are of the principal oil producing countries other than the US and Canada when it comes to additional production. And OPEC members have swung back and forth over the years from, at some points in time, restricting production to obtain windfall profits and higher prices per barrel, and at other times letting the spigots run and fueling the supply so that the price at the pump goes down, but maybe demand goes up.
I think the question everybody has is, when are the prices going to go down to something that we might define as affordable? When will
Well,
they
I
get
think,
there?
yes, I think that's an excellent question. And I think a lot does depend, of course, Dave, on the Ukraine crisis. So as long as there's uncertainty with respect to peace in the Ukraine, then there is going to be a continuation of these tough measures against Russia. And of course, the Europeans at the moment, they're not in a position to ban energy imports from Russia, and that energy is still flowing. And it's very difficult to imagine the Europeans being able to come up with a sufficient level of alternative supply to substitute for the large quantities of Russian oil and gas that they import. If things got really out of hand and President Putin were to put a ban on exports from Russia of Russian gas and oil, that would, of course, cut off the money that is fueling his war effort. But who knows what he might do from one day to the next.
$4 a gallon going to be a reality for the near future through the spring, summer, maybe fall?
Well, I'm probably not sufficient of a prognosticator to be able to reliably put it that way. But let me just say, as long as you see Ukraine at the top of the news every day on your television, it's likely that that will continue.
How long does it take from, if we need to get more oil on the market to help bring prices down, how long does it take to get from the ground, say somewhere in Saudi Arabia, to a tanker ship, to a refinery, to convert it, to get it to a distribution point, and ultimately get it into gas pumps at our local convenience stores?
Well, of course, we're talking about across the ocean shipping here. So depending upon whether or not we're talking about Canada or talking about Saudi Arabia, there's a difference. But from the Middle East, we're probably looking at least 3 to 4 months in terms of the extraction, the transit time, the refining, and then the delivery and distribution to the pump. And if I may say so, Dave, one reason why we see quite a bit of variance these days among gas stations in terms of the selling price that they're putting out there, that's reflective of the timing of deliveries. So some stations are still selling gas that was delivered to them maybe a month or more ago. When that underground tank runs dry and they have to refill it, then of course it will be refilled at a cost that is much higher than was the cost when the previous tank delivery was received a month ago. So that explains why some stations are high and some stations are low. It's really reflective of differences in the costs that they incurred on the last order that they placed.
Dean Quelch, is there anything else that's important for the discussion of the gas prices and the hopes and the concerns on how long the prices are going to stay at these $4 plus levels?
Yeah, so I think one issue, Dave, that we haven't touched upon is consumer behavior responses to these kind of increases. Typically, when consumers drive down the highway and they see the level of change that they've seen in the past 2 to 3 weeks, that can have a bit of a jolt in terms of consumer confidence, and that can bleed over into the broader economy. Obviously, the gas price is the most obvious manifestation of high inflation at the moment. Some folks may have the flexibility to work remotely more days per week and spend less time and money on gas commuting. So there's a range of different behavior responses on the part of consumers that can potentially control demand. And it's not just a matter of supply. There's also some things that consumers can do to obviously reduce or control their demand that can bear upon the price at the pump.
John Quelch, Dean of the Miami Herbert School of Business at the University of Miami, thank you so much for your time. And thank you for watching. I'm Dave Bowman. This will be on Facebook Live on our WPTV page for quite some time. And I thank everyone for viewing. Have a great day.